Hi, I'm your host, Marlo Lemon, and you're listening to Wild Voice, the podcast where I take this voice of mine and share my wild journey with you. Being widowed at 34 with a 15-month-old, most would see as life ending. And instead, I alchemized it and put life back together, and it became more beautiful and fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. Through this life shift of mine, I realized who I am and what I'm here to do. I'm an intuitive energy healer, and sharing how I view the world is how I help you upgrade your life and alchemize your journey into magic. From day one, I wanted to share my journey, call it intuition, but I knew it was going to do more good out in the world than keeping it to myself. So when I say I've mastered life, that doesn't mean I'm perfect or that life is. I mean, I've mastered the concept of life, and I want to share that with you. Something I've been working on mastering is the idea of getting what I want by reverse engineering how to get there. I feel a lot of the time we procrastinate or don't know where to start because we know what we want, but the steps from start to finish are fuzzy. When there is so far to go, how do we feel like our progress is making a difference? Or how do we even know where to begin? What has served me well, and I can tell you, has worked through my own experience, is implementing the reverse engineer approach. How this works. You start with the end result. Let's say for me, it's my book being a New York Times bestseller. For another person could be to lose 20 pounds. And another, having the most fulfilling, loving relationship, aka finding their soul complement. And another could even be something smaller, like wanting more attention from their partner or having their kids listen to them. Think of what yours is in this moment so you can apply this in real time. By the end of this episode, you'll have a game plan and more direction than when you started. It can be anything you are wanting to feel, achieve, receive, any of those things. Nothing is off the table. Okay, so now that you have it, instead of starting from the beginning and trying to connect the dots to get to that end result, we are going to reverse engineer it. Start from the end goal or desire or want or intention. And what is the thing, step, or action right before it? So for my example of being a New York Times bestseller, well, right before that is the quantity of books I would have to sell to get that recognition. So my next mini step is to find out how many copies I would need to sell to get there. Well, I found out that is a minimum of 5,000 books sold in a single week across diverse retailers and multiple geographic locations. Very specific, right? But this is the type of information I need to know and hone in on if I want to accomplish that. Half the time we start looking for these goals and we start going towards them without having every little detail planned out strategically. And I'm not very strategic. I will say I am much more spiritual and let things just happen than I am logic and strategic about things. But I have found the combo of both is where things actually come to complete fruition for us. So my next step under that would be asking myself the question, well, how would I get there? How would I get to the point of selling that many copies in such a short period of time across such a diverse geographic location? Well, first, to get to that point, there probably needs to be a lot of momentum and a lot of marketing and a lot of multiple outlets pushing out information at the same time. How would I achieve that sort of guidance? Most likely through an event agent or PR agent, or reaching out to people that are plugged in and connected in these ways. I have to be strategic in finding the group of people that are going to resonate with my message and are going to jump on it exactly at that opportunity to learn more about how I've gotten to where I'm at, how I've healed, how I've overcome hardship and horrific trauma, rebuilt my life, found myself and passions, all while learning how to consciously parent along the way. I have to find this audience, and I'll need some help building and finding it. So I would next maybe look up who would be the best person for this job, or how to create a marketing plan myself. So my next task, which might be something I've already done, is to start to Google what that occupation even is so I know what I'm looking for. And in the meantime, something I could even start with is my subscriber audiences through my healing practice newsletter and podcast. But it's creating this plan over an extended period of time to get really clear on steps. Now, this is only scratching the surface, but I'm creating a formula to get what I want, starting closest to what I want to achieve. By slowing down and taking the time to reverse engineer, which can take anywhere from a week or two for a big thing like this. The time it takes to reverse engineer depends on the outcome we are creating. Some will take much less time, and some could take a little bit more. It's all dependent on how grandiose it is or not. There are things that I have reversed engineer in my life in a couple hours when it's based on how I want to feel or how I want to be perceived. So there are ways to do this in quick little amounts of time. It just depends on what our big goal is we're trying to achieve. So by incorporating this concept and tool, I am setting myself up with a plan of what to do tomorrow. In other words, where to start. It allows me to be complete with my plan and not to miss a step. It also makes more sense and has a flow to it since we are focused on the outcome. Then the momentum picks up quicker and more naturally when we reverse it like this. I have used this in multiple different ways in my life, from little things like I want to feel more cherished to getting a house I'm really proud of and love and can create magical things in, to how do I become desired? These are just a few of them. But how I play with it, in case it's helpful, is on a piece of paper, I will write in the middle, the ultimate outcome. Then I'll draw a circle around it. This is my focus when I'm creating, what I'm trying to create for myself, how I want to feel. Then from there, if it's something that needs ingredients to create it, I start lines coming off of the circle and write what will make up that outcome. What plus what equals what I want. Or if it's something specific that has very specific steps that have to be in a certain order to achieve this outcome, then I will create what almost looks like a bracket. You know, those things people create for fantasy football teams? I've never done one for those, but for this, I have. Kind of like a pick your adventure. Once you make choice A or complete B, then go here. This is a way to take all of that amazingness that is swirling around in that brain of yours, that your soul wants to experience, and what you were put here to do, and putting some action steps to actually getting it. The spiritual is magical, and we also need that human action put in place to allow it to do its job, though. A lot of us that are in the spiritual world, and when I say that, we're very aware spiritually, and we tend to lean into that more so than the human side of things. There is an area of opportunity for us to see the importance in the human actions. But a lot of the time we get discouraged because we don't see that they actually make much progress, or they actually make us feel worse about what we're trying to accomplish because they're not working, or we're getting stuck in certain spots we didn't think we would. So by reverse engineering, we're sifting through and we're eliminating as much of that as possible. And it's so much easier to create from a place of where we want to be or what we want to create or what we want to become than it is to start from where we're at and get all the way over there. Also, the nice part, the energy about envisioning what you're wanting to create or become or put out into the world, and sitting in that energy long enough to create a plan that's actually just allowing that manifesting energy to work in our favor. So play with this and see what fun things you can reverse engineer in your life. Start with something like how you want to feel and figure out all the ways you are going to make that your reality. What's the step that happens right before you get what you want? And then just let it flow from there. Think of it like placing an order at a restaurant, but instead to the universe. You don't just sit down at a restaurant and expect what you want to eat and drink to just show up. You got to do your part, take the actions, and place the order. I'll come back to the table when I figure out how to explain this to Nash, because I think this can be quite the game changer when it comes to problem solving for kids. So once Nash puts me through the ringer and I've mastered it with him, I know where to find you. Thanks so much for being here. Please rate, like, share, and review so we can stay connected and continue this magical journey together.